Financial Seminar. This is our third year. Time goes really fast. We have a wonderful lineup for you this morning. We're going to start off, of course, with the man of God. We're going to start off with Pastor Jackson. First Financial Bank is here. Sharana from Global Tax is here. And Mr. DJ is going to come and give us some tips. You know, he's almost a millionaire, and he's not even 18 yet doing stock. So he's going to teach us some things about doing stock and building wealth in stock. So without further ado, we're going to get this show on the road because we got a wealth of information for you this morning. I want to bring to the stage first the Trailblazer of Indianapolis. He just received the highest award from the governor, the Trailblazer Award. He's been blazing the trails for many years. He's very knowledgeable in finance. We can see all the buildings that he's built, all the businesses that he's had, and he's going to give us the biblical side of what we're doing today. Pastor James Jackson.
Theological foundation for what we are talking about financially. And I'm going to read it from the New Living Translation. And it says, again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last, dividing it in proportion to their abilities. He then left on his trip. The servant who received 5 bags of silver began to invest the money and earned 5 more. Verse 20 says, the servant to whom he had entrusted 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more and said, Master, you gave me 5 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 5 more. The master was full of praise. Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount. Now, I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. The servant who had received 2 bags of silver came forward and said, Master, you gave me 2 bags of silver to invest. I have earned 2 more. The master said, well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. Then the servant with the 1 bag of silver came and said, Master, I knew you were a harsh man, harvesting crops you didn't plant, gathering crops you didn't cultivate. I was afraid I would lose your money, so I hid it in the earth. Look, here is your money back. But the master replied, you wicked and lazy servant, if you knew I harvested crops I didn't plant and gathered crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? At least I could have gotten some interest on it. Then he ordered, take the money from this servant and give it to the one with 10 bags of silver. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given. They will have abundance. But from those who do nothing, even what little they have will be taken away. Now throw this useless servant into outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Now, so that you would get the underneath understanding of what we're talking about, I want to go back and read a portion of this from the Message Bible translation, because it puts it in more contemporary terms. And as we go through here, I'm going to kind of make some comments. So the same verses from the Message Bible translation, the more contemporary rendering of the King James Version of the Bible, says it's also like a man, and what I'm sharing is the theological foundation for your financial future. So that here is what the Bible says about you and your money. And then all these other folks who are going to be sharing after me will kind of share with you what we would call theoretical foundation for your financial future. And you bring those two together, and you can be very, very, very successful. So those of you who are believers, even if you're not, you're watching, I want you to understand that God wants you to be financially free. God wants you to be successful. And we want you to be successful. And everybody who comes to this platform wants you to be successful. Tell somebody you came, but God wants you to be successful. I know y'all still waking up, and we didn't have Starbucks. Can you say it with a little bit in your voice? God wants you to be successful. And if you're already successful, look back at it and say, I am successful. So it says it's like a man going off on an extended trip. He called his servants together and delegated responsibilities. To one, he gave $5,000. To another, $2,000. To a third one, $1,000, depending on their abilities. Then he left right off. The first servant went to work and doubled his master's investment. So we can then extrapolate from the text biblical or theological understandings of how God wants us to operate, and that it's not a sin to make investments. When I was growing up in the church, they said it was a sin to get involved in the stock market, to go out there and invest your money like that. Because if you lost it, God don't give you money to lose. Well, they would have been like that one that got the $1,000, who didn't gain anything. And he missed out on God's best. He missed out on heaven. Give me a moment. So they didn't hear anything I said? Because I'd have to start over. Y'all be shifting to preacher mode. I'm trying to be a motivational speaker here. If I go to pastor, it's a whole different situation. Anyway. All right, so they heard most of it. All right, we apologize. This is really important. Okay. I want you to see here, and I only have about 15 minutes left. I want to maximize my time. To one, he gave $5,000. Now, one of the things I want you to understand, that no matter how much money somebody gives you, if you don't have the ability to handle it, it does not also mean you're going to be successful with it. And this is the reason why a lot of people who win the lottery, who play it, statistics say they end up broke within a year, at the most 2 years after they get the money, because they don't know how to handle money. So God gives us what we have the ability to handle. So he gave one $5,000 because he knew he had the ability to handle it. And the scripture says he left right off. The first servant went to work and doubled his master's investment. What I want to encourage you to do today is to take the information that we give you and start working with it right away. Some people say, well, I'll start doing that tomorrow. Well, you said tomorrow yesterday. So we no longer want to keep saying tomorrow, tomorrow, but like this servant did, he got started right away investing the money. What's interesting here, that last servant was given $1,000. And we understand that in America, the average citizen in America does not have $1,000 saved anywhere. Does not have $1,000 saved anywhere. That if there was some kind of crisis, that most Americans would not be able to last throughout that crisis because they wouldn't have any kind of reserves or any kind of money or any kind of lines of credit to deal with it. In the 80s and the 90s, a lot of preachers preached that borrowing money was a sin. And I couldn't understand how borrowing money was a sin when God told Moses to tell the Israelites to go borrow all the wealth of Egypt. So how could money be a sin, borrowing money be a sin, if God told him to go borrow? You remember the prophet who told the woman who had the 2 sons whose husband died? And he told her to go what? Borrow vessels, not a few. Go borrow everybody's vessel. And then God put her in the oil business. She lived off that and her sons for the rest of their lives. So God gives us what we have the ability to deal with. Then he left off, invested it, doubled it. The second did the same, but the man with the single $1,000 dug a hole and carefully buried his master's money. So God doesn't give us a lot of money to hoard it. God does not give us money and then we don't do anything to add to it. Because when God blesses us and increases us, he always has other people on his mind, meaning that he wants you to be the conduit through which he blesses other people. But if you don't have anything for yourself, it's very difficult for you to reach out and help other people. How many of you all would like to one day, if not already, be a philanthropist? I'm overwhelmed by your enthusiasm. There you go. Philanthropists, or lovers of mankind, feel, love, anthropology, humans. Philanthropists, they give money to help people. Jeff Bezos' former wife is one of the top philanthropists in the world, the 24th richest woman in the world, the 4th richest woman, Mackenzie Bezos. It used to be Bezos, she remarried. But Mackenzie is the 4th wealthiest woman in the United States of America, 24th wealthiest woman in the world. Of course, her wealth came through a divorce, but no matter how it came, she started giving money away. and her goal is to give most of her money away. So when you have billions like that, you don't really need it to live. I mean, you could live 1,000 lifetimes off of that kind of money. So when God gives you something, he wants you to at least double it. So the principle that's working in the Word is, let's take, this is still January. January is almost over. And let's take what you have now and say, my goal, theological foundation to the claim I'm making, my goal is to double what I have. That if you're making $30,000 a year, in 1 year, I'm going to double that. I'm not going to double it. But you'll double that based on the biblical principle here. So in 1 year, you can count on God to help you to go from making $30,000 a year to making $60,000 a year. Does that mean on your job they're going to give you a 100% increase like that? Not necessarily. But there are other ways, especially in the 21st century, and we're seeing testimonies on social media all the time where people went from making what they were making to making 2 and 3 and 4 times over what they were making, because they took what they had and they started investing it. It says here, after a long absence, the master of those 3 servants came back and settled up with them. The one given $5,000 showed him he had doubled his master's investment. His master commended him. Good work. You did your job well. From now on, be my partner. From now on, be my partner. So he proved himself that he had the ability to enter into a partnership with a man who had massive resources. I believe that as you go forward out of this seminar today, and as you start using the tools that we're going to be giving you, that God is going to bless you with the kind of partnerships that will help you to multiply whatever you already have. The servant with the $2,000 showed how he also doubled his master's investment. His master commended him. Good work. You did your job well. From now on, be my partner. Same as the first. The servant given $1,000 said, Master, I know you have high standards and hate careless ways, that you demand the best and no allowances for error. Here's one of the key things that stops people from investing, stops people from buying houses. Because when you become a homeowner, that's a way to build wealth. Or stops people from getting insurance policies. With an insurance policy, you don't have to wait until you die to start making money off of that investment. It's a small investment. My dad was an insurance man for all his life. It's a small investment every month, and we have Minister Andrea will come and talk about that later on, where you could have a policy. And let me say this, and I know this is true, well, tongue-in-cheek, I know this is true. During the pandemic, one of the only industries that did not suffer as much as others is the financial services industry. The financial service industry. And one of the components in that make up that industry is insurance services. How many of you all remember insurance companies crying and saying they were going bankrupt over the last 3 years? None. Your insurance company, because guess what? Everything else was suspended, but they didn't suspend your premiums. You still made that car payment, that insurance on that house, all of that was still going. And you multiply that over the United States of America, the financial services industry is probably one of the most neglected, especially among black people, of getting involved in maximizing what it has to offer. So we want to help you get into some things that perhaps you didn't even think about getting into. All right? Is this all right? I got 6 minutes left. So he says, you have high standards. I don't want to disappoint you. I hid the money. Fear. Fear is what stops people. And one of the versions that I don't have a chance to read today, but I would encourage you to go online and read it, is from the Living Bible translation. And the Living Bible translation is very, very interesting when you read it, because it talks about how fearful the guy was of taking a risk. The most successful people are the people who will take the risk. And people say, well, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to risk losing what I got. But if you're going to be successful, you have to take the risk. You have to take the risk. And I talked about the financial services industry. There are a couple of things that people cut off when they have a money challenge. One is their insurance, and two is their tithe and offerings. And those are two areas that you don't want to cut off. You want to keep your insurance going, and you want to keep giving to God going. Amen? I didn't get too many amens on that. All right, so he says, I don't want to disappoint you. I found a good hiding place, secured your money. Here it is, safe and sound to the last cent. The master was furious. And he says, listen to this. This is really good. That's a terrible way to live. It's in the Bible. That's a terrible way to live. Now, all scripture is God-breathed. And God says what? Being money cautious like this. Now, that's in the Living Bible. I'm just telling you what the scriptures say. Being so cautious like that, and of course it's here in the Message Bible too. It's criminal to live cautiously like that if you knew that I was after the best. Why did you do less than the least? The least you could have done would have been to invest the sum with the bankers, to invest the sum with First Financial. That's pretty good, wasn't it? Or Regions, because we bank with them too, but we thank God for First Financial. Where at least I would have gotten a little interest. Take the $1,000 and give it to the one who risked the most. And get rid of this play it safe who won't go out on a limb. Throw him out into utter darkness. That's a cold demonstration, isn't it? But he thought he was doing something. Now, are we saying that you're just going to go willy-nilly and, throw caution to the wind? No. But what we are saying is that as God blesses you, you will take what you have and invest it. Let me give you this in my time that I have left here. There's an app that I found out about a few years ago called Acorns, A-C-O-R-N-S. And so I started using that Acorns app. It's very robust in what it has to offer, and it will invest your money for you at very, very low cost. And I started investing in that thing. And man, I watched my money double over and over and over and over and over again. And it's very easy to pull money out of it when I need it. But I don't recommend you do that unless there's an emergency. But we had something that we really needed to do. And there it was. No stress. There it was. And it also will show you how much money you will have. You can set and a certain amount that it will just come out of your bank account. And so I have certain goals of money that I want to save. My ultimate goal, because there was a gentleman I met in Chicago, Illinois. His name is Sole Hicks. You can follow him on Facebook. And he's in the financial services industry, one of the best in the world, I might add. And he told me when I was working in Chicago in 2015, I was chief administrative officer there for a major ministry there. And he said, Pastor Jackson, if what you're saving doesn't hurt you, you're not saving enough. If what you're saving doesn't hurt you or make you uncomfortable, you're not saving enough. And so my goal was to save $1,000 a month, and I started doing that. And then my next goal is to save $2,000 a month. And then my next goal is to save $3,000 a month. And then my next goal is to save $4,000 a month. So when a brother is 75, he'll be alive and thrive. Let's give God some praise. Amen. You don't want to be 75 years old Still out there trying to move boxes for FedEx or somebody. You know, they might hire you, but we want to make sure that you're ready. Because guess what? Most all of us, our minds believe we can do anything, no matter how old we are. And right now, you're probably saying, even if I'm 80, I'm going to be able to do this, I'm going to be able to do that, I'm going to be able to do this. But as you get older, your body, a lot of times, just won't give you what your mind is demanding. And so right now, you're able to earn because we have energy, we have vitality, we can get around, we can do what we need to do. But the day is coming. The day is coming where things are going to slow down a little bit. And you want to make sure that you have done what these servants did. They doubled their money. So I pray a double return on everything you invest for the rest of your life. Those of you here, those of you who are watching, I decree and declare a double, not less than a double return in Jesus' name.
Thank you, Pastor Jackson. I am a witness to all that this ministry does in the community. I've learned a lot. Fervent Prayer has given out a lot during the pandemic. People were, running low on their rent and things like that, and the church would give. We have set amounts that we usually give, and we had to give over that for some people for them to stay in their house. And every time we do it, God shows up and he just pours into this ministry. So thank you so much, Pastor Jackson, for that wisdom. So next, we have Mimi from First Financial Bank coming up. We have developed a great relationship with First Financial. They have sponsored this financial seminar for the last 2 years, I think it is. And so in any area that we need help where the bank is concerned, they are always there. It's like I don't even have to call them. They'll be in my email. If I think about it, she texts me. They were the ones who supplied all the bank accounts to all of the youth for our youth program. So all of our youth have bank accounts. They're direct deposit. They're learning how to manage their money, and that all comes from First Financial Bank. So I'm going to introduce Mimi from First Financial. She's going to talk about credit, personal credit, business credit, how to get it, how to build it so we can level up.
Is this on? Okay.
Yeah, I think
it's on. Okay. How y'all doing? Good. Okay. So my name is Mimi. I work for First Financial Bank. My title is I am the Financial Wellness Advisor. So what I do most of the time for my job is I connect with different organizations throughout the Indianapolis community. I teach financial education. So anything from the youth to the adult to the elder could be from basic banking to advanced. So I teach. Am I not supposed to point that? Okay, sorry about that. So I teach like basic banking to credit, business, small business, from budgeting to financial planning for your business. So I do a lot of things for the community. We, as First Financial, we are very big on our community. So we try to give back and invest in the community that we serve. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about credit. How long do I have? Okay. So if you guys kind of all know what credit is, I'm just gonna go over like the important things that you need to know and when you need to do. So bear with me here. I have a lot of information. So let's go ahead and get started. So obviously, you know, you need credit if you don't have money to just put down on a home or getting an auto loans or, you know, just anything in general. So pool credit is less than 600 credit. So for this one, you usually not really getting, you know, any loans or from any bank. Fair credit is between 580 and 670. So this one is kind of difficult for you to qualify for a loan. And then you might have to get, a higher interest rate. So like if you have this type of credit, if you notice, if you go to like a dealer to finance a car or something like that, you're looking at 17-18% on your interest rate. And this is crazy because sometimes interest rate, it costs like more than your actual car that you're purchasing. So this is really important to have good credit. Good credits is between 660 and 740. Very good, it's 740 and 799. And then it's exceptional credit, just what you want to be. And it's really hard to achieve. It's 800 to 850. If you don't have any credit as of right now, which I hope most of you do, if you don't have that, I would suggest getting a secure credit card. Or sometime bank will offer like a credit achiever loan, so you can start with that. And then, request your payment history to be reported. Open a joint account, pay your bill on time, and just make sure you never miss a payment. And I can touch on this a little bit later on too, because whenever you miss a payment, they're taking off 60 to 80 points off your credit. So most of the time, that's what holds people back from just getting a really good credit, because sometimes, life happens, right? We have stuff that we either forget to make your payment, or just something where we didn't have money to pay our bill on time. So if that happened to you and then you make your payment, you just late, like a week late, most of the time you can call the financial institution and see if they can work a deal out with you. Usually I will do it for my client just because, like I say, stuff happen, and I will contact our credit control department and ask them if they can remove the late payment on one of my clients. Because it was their first time, usually as a courtesy, we'll do it for you. So right now, any of you, have a loan with a car dealership or a bank, call them. If you have a missed payment, and just say, hey, it's my first time, I forgot to make a payment. Just give them something to work with, and most of the time they will help you out. So by removing that off your credit, it can save you, 60 to 80 points back into your credit score. So it's really important to do. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so the factors, and you need to know these two, that make up your credit score. Payment history. So payment history is really important because it's a primary when lender look at to make sure that you pay your bill on time. So this is why it plays such a big, important role. That's why it take off so much score when you don't pay your bills on time. Amounts owed. This one is how much you actually owe on your credit card and loan. So if you notice, the more debt you got, the lower your credit is. Like if you max out your credit card, you don't pay a certain things, it's like your score's always dropped. So that's why whenever you use a credit card or anything like that, you want to stay under 30%. The best advice I'm going to give you is try to stay under 10% if you can. That's what I always try to do, and I know not always happen, but if I know that I get myself up to 25% or 30%, I usually try to pay down my card. Because whenever you don't, they usually just, your score will drop. And it's not a whole lot, but if you keep maxing your card out, you'll see a lot of a big changes. So if you use it a little bit too much, you can see maybe 5-10 points dropped. But if you do it a little bit more, you see more will be taken off your credit score. And then length of credit history. So credit history is affected by how long you've been managing your credit. This is also important. So if you have a credit card 10 years ago, and you don't really use it, and lender will close it out if you don't use it. So please make sure you use it. It's really important, even just $2, $5 for Netflix to come out and you pay it back. Because if they close it, they close out that credit history. So having a long credit history is it's so important, and I can stress that enough because lender will look at that and see kind of how long that you've been around, how long, like what kind of loans, credit cards, stuff that you have. So think about when you're getting a credit card, that it's going to be with you for life. So even if you don't use it, at least utilize it just a little bit so that way that credit history is there. Because when you close it, the only things that you're going to have left, it's whatever you opened a year ago, whatever you opened 2 years ago. And that happened to me. I used to have this credit card with Fifth Third when I was in college for a long time. And that's who I worked for when I first got out of college. And when I got to a different job, I don't use it. So they close it out. So now my newest credit history is 3 years. So it's kind of erased everything. So that is really important. So types of credit. A smaller portion of your credit score depends on the type of credit you have. So people with a mixed credit type, like credit card, and auto loans, and a mortgage may have slightly higher score than those with only one type. Whenever you build your credit, or just having credit in general, I want you to have multiple trade lines on your credit. So like, if you don't have any credit right now, get you a secure credit card, but also open any installment loans. That will also help boost up your score and help build your scores faster. So only have one thing on there is also a risk to a bank. So if you go in and you apply for a loan or something like that, they're gonna see like, okay, you only have one thing on your credit. It's barely new, like they're not gonna give you anything, and most of the time, even though say your credit's 700, it's still not enough credit and history for us to even lend you anything. So it's important to have multiple things. Not saying you should get 5 credit cards, no, don't do that. But like just have like maybe 2 credit cards or like a loan or something like that going, so that way they know that you know you're trustworthy, you're paying your stuff back. This is how the bank works, and I'm teaching you guys how bank works. So other things that you could also be doing to help with your credit, it's co-signing and merging credit. So some of you probably already co-sign for your family member or something like that. This is not something that I really like to give people advice on. If you trust somebody, and you know that's whether it's your family member, your kids, or whatever that might be, and they've had good credit, yeah, go ahead and join with them if you really trust them. Me personally, I don't really trust a whole lot of people, so I don't do that, just because anything that they do, it's gonna affect you. So if they don't pay their bills or if they're late, it's affecting both of you. Okay, so make sure that if you're going to put a trust in somebody, trust that person that they're going to make the payment and they're going to do you right, because sometimes stuff happens, and that's how we have like messed up credit. It's because our parents are not responsible, or other people aren't responsible. So be smart about it, but that's not something that I will tell you to do. But people do it out there. So okay, so let's go into collections and past dues and all that stuff. So this is a really good stuff. So to know what's on your credit, you should look at your credit report all the time. Pull your credit. Credit Karma has a really good tool for you to look at your credit score. Please do not trust the score on Credit Karma, just FYI. It can tell you a whole different story, because I have clients that will come in and tell me, hey, Credit Karma, I look at Equifax, they say I have 700 credit, score. When I pull their credit, it's way off. So please don't trust that, but Credit Karma, it's good, and I'm not sponsored by them by any means, but you can actually go in and kind of get your report and kind of see what you got on there. Sometimes you can see your collections or charge off, and then just different things that's reporting on there. The reason why I want you to look at your credit, because if you see something on there that doesn't belong to you, you can actually go in there directly and dispute it. This is important, so that way like you can see stuff that you do and stuff that you didn't do, and then how long, like collections and other things on there. Checks the errors. Be sure to look for incorrect personal information. Sometimes they report like misspelling address, misspelling your name, social security is not correct. This happens all the time. And this also be good to check for identity theft as well. Because a lot of people, steal your identity and just open different things. So always look at your credit report just to kind of see what's on there. Account that don't belong to you. Missing accounts that should be listed on your reports. Incorrect public records. So this can be bankruptcy, foreclosure. So if you see stuff like that on there, and you're like, oh, I never had bankruptcy before. I never had foreclosure before. This is important to know. Because, if you didn't do these things and if affecting you, how are you going to go and fix it? Accounts that aren't accurate, so like it say when they open, but they actually close. Account listed at closed by grantors, meaning the lender closed the account on you that you didn't give them permissions to. Most of the time, if you don't use your credit card or other things that you have for a long time, they would just close it automatically without even telling you that they're closing it. And I have that happen to me a couple of times. Duplicates accounts, delinquency or derogatory marks, fraudulent activity, and then incorrect inquiries. So these are important. You're gonna want to know who runs your credit. Because if you're just sitting at home and you see like 3, 4, inquiry on your credit that you didn't do, you need to dispute that. A lot of people will steal, this is where identity theft will come. They'll steal people's like social security and just run and just do like apply for a credit card. And this happen all the time. We have like some fraudulent credit card online that people would steal people's mail and just literally go online, apply for a credit card, and then get that credit card, racked it up to $6,000, $7,000, and then the real client will call us and was like, hey, I didn't apply for a credit card. My identity was stolen. We saw somebody stole our information right out of our mailbox. So then what do? We are losing $8,000 from the bank because they apply everything online. Everything looks so perfect. Like they use the real address, they use everything is real. And I even, this has happened to me because I literally call and talk to the person on the phone. And they literally they talk to me like they are that person. So sometimes you wouldn't know. So these things happen every day. So just make sure, you check your credit because you work so hard for your credit. You don't want people to just, take advantage of you. I freeze my credit. I freeze my credit because my credit is good and I just don't want people to able to access it anytime they want. The beauty of when you freeze your credit is when they run it, it say freeze. And then you get a notifications, hey, so-and-so running your credit. Then you kind of know, okay, I didn't do that. I'm at home right now. So why it's, First Financial Bank is running my credit. So I freeze mine. The only time that I'll unfreeze my credit is when I go and apply for something. So please, when you freeze your credit, remember your username, password, which I don't have the time. So I always have to do a forget password every time I log in because I rarely use my credit. And then you have to know your PIN. So make sure you keep your PIN. Or sometimes if you call the agency, they'll unfreeze it for you for a little bit and then they'll freeze it back. So the beauty of that is you can lift your credit up for 2 days and then lock it back up. So that way nobody have access to it. And then when you apply for a loan, just say, hey, I freeze my credit. Let me go ahead and unfreeze it. Usually when you unfreeze it, it'll unfreeze it right away. And then we can pull it and it will lock back up the next day. That's how I do it, but you do you. That's just something that, I didn't get taught growing up, that I get as I'm getting older. I'm just really smart about it, and I just don't want people to take advantage of other people. So I usually just, tell my client to do it. Pay late or past due accounts. So in addition to reporting the error on your credit report, you should focus on paying overdue balances on your account. Until a payment is a 30-day past due, it isn't considered late by the credit bureau. So, however, once a payment is beyond 30-day past due, creditor and lender can report your account to the credit bureau, which automatically impact your score and credit worthiness. So whenever you pull your credit up and you see they reported 30 days 3 times, 60 days 6 times, 90 days 10 times, those are what kill your scores, okay? So just make sure, don't ever be late. And then when do collection agency get involved? If an account has a past due balance more than 30 days, your creditor may turn your account over to a collection department or an agency to seek the fund directly from you. When the account is sold to a collection agency, the account can be noted on your credit report, often having enormous negative impact on your credit score. So whenever you pull up your credit report and you see a collections on your credit, most of the time it's already been sold, so you will need to, if you haven't gotten a letter in the mail or a call from somebody stating that they need to get that money from you, then you need to call the original source. So whoever you owe the money, just say, hey, I would like to pay back what I owe. Most of the time, and this does not happen all the time, but most of the time, you can call the collection agency and negotiate the either the payment or the original amount. So one of my clients that I work with, he owed $1,300 on like a T-Mobile, and he was able to negotiate back to $300 to make sure to pay it off. So whenever you get a collections on your credit, always negotiate, because at the end of the day, they just want their money back, and whatever that is, they will get a lower amount just to make sure you pay your debt. Okay, so when that's pay, it should show pay on your credit reports, and if it's not show pay, then you need to call them again and say, hey, please, either remove it. Most of the time, they don't have to remove it, but sometimes they do. So either mark pay or get that removed off your credit once you pay the collection opt. So please pay it. There's nowhere you want to run from it. I always tell my clients to make sure they pay the collection that is most recent, because collections stay on there for 7 years. After that, it should fall off. Bankruptcy stay on for 10 years. But take care of the most recent one first. Like, just say if you owe $200 to Verizon and it was sent to collection back 2018. And you also have another one for Capital One that was back in 2016. Of course, you need to pay both off if you're trying to achieve that good credit, but you're going to want to take care of the 2018 first, because those are affecting you more than actually the old one. So pay it. That's one thing that I always going to tell you guys to do, because there's just nowhere to run or nowhere to go. Unless you just want it, to buy time for that 7 years to fall off. But if you want that house today, you want that credit card today, you want that car today, you're going to want to pay it off early. Because when you pay it off, it actually can improve your score up really, really fast. And that's how one of my clients got from 630 to 730 credit within months. He started paying some stuff off that he has on his credit. It's doable, but it's hard, because you're going to have to sacrifice your bank account, your saving, or whatever that might be, but you need to pay it. Just call them, negotiate with them, and pay it. Okay, so what is a charge-off? A charge-off is when a payment of 180 days or 6 months past due, your credit card will become charged off, meaning you no longer have the options to make regular minimum payments. Your creditor considered the debt as lost in their own records and cancel your account. And you'll be only able to pay the balance in full. You may be charged a late fee for each additional month that passes. So being charged off is greatly damage to your credit. Your lender can even increase the interest rate and the penalty rate, which is often the highest rate possible. So your creditor may assign the account to a collection agency, but if you can't afford to pay the full amount, talk with your lender about payment options. If an account goes to charge-off status, it will mark on your report for 7 years. So pay that too, if you have a charge-off, okay? So, some tips for you. Pay off your higher interest new credit card account first. So if you have multiple credit cards right now, which I will never suggest anybody to have more than 3 credit cards. I only have 2. There's no reason. There is no reason for you to have 5, 6 credit cards. And a lot of people are making a mistake by doing the 0% and just transfer it over and over to a different cards because they couldn't pay the amount back on time. Although it's a smart thing to do and you save some interest on it because it's giving you more time to pay it back. The bad side of that is how kind of bang they get you. Because whatever amount that you owe now, once the 0% fall off, then you'll be paying 16% in interest for the amount that you actually still have on the balance on your credit. So make sure the smart thing to do is just pay off your higher interest credit card first. And then whatever the lowest one, then you can just start making your payments on that. That will really, really help. And then pay your balance on time. I can't stress this enough. Just make sure you pay your balance on time. And then how long it will take to fix my credit. On average, it can take from 3 to 6 months for an inaccurate item to be removed off your credit reports following your dispute. So just know if you dispute anything that doesn't belong to you, it takes 3 to 6 months. However, the length of time required to fix a bad credit score largely depends on your particular credit history and what you do moving forward. So I've have in the past, it takes me 1.5 years to help somebody go from 560 to 700 credit. And it was a lot of hiccups. There was a lot of things that I personally have to do for him, like make sure his payments are made on time, make sure like he's never late with other stuff. It's doable, but it just, you can do as many secure cards you want. You can do as many credit achiever loans as you want to rebuild your credit, but you gotta take care of the things that you owed, because you can have many of those and you're still gonna get bad credit if you don't take care of the charge off, the collections, the late payment, stuff like that on your credit. Now, let's talk about business credit. Since I know many of you here is a business owner. So, how does business credit work? So business credit are typically created when vendors, suppliers, and credit reports a business account and ability to a business credit bureau. This activity helps generate information that inform your business credit score. Some score also consider information from the owner personal credit file, business, such as the small business financial exchange. So, is the business credit same as personal credit? No. They're not the same, but they're severe similar purpose. To help lender and vendor determine how likely you are to repay a loan and other financial obligations taken out on behalf of your business. Through some business credit, consider your personal credit, personal and business credit profile are separate. So what is business credit used for? It's used for your eligibility or rates on loans, including small business, administration, or like SBA loans, the business insurance premiums, the net terms and credit limit you receive from vendors and supplier, your ability to raise money from investors, and then whether you qualify for contracts with other organizations. 7 tips for building business credit. Check your business and personal credit. So they'll kind of go together. Most of the time you go in and apply for a business loan, we pull both. We pull your personal and we pull your business credit. So most of the time, if your business credit is good, but your personal credit is not good, we will not give you a loan, unfortunately. There are several ways that you can check your business credit. Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, and Experian will give you a full copy of your business credit report for free. Some free services may also give you access to summaries of your business credit reports and score. Is there just one business score? Nope. Just like the consumer credit, competing agency create and sell different business credit score. Dun & Bradstreet, Experian, and Equifax all create their own business credit score. Some lender and vendor may also turn to specially business credit report when evaluate your business. To establish business credit, you need to take the following steps. Incorporate your business or form an LLC. LLC is limited liability company, so this ensures your personal and credit identity will be separate. Just know that let's just say if you take out a loan and something's going on, like your business is going down, for example, that would then fall into the LLC instead of your personal credit. So whenever you create a business, you want to make sure you educate yourself on, if you take out a loan, if you are sole prop using your social, that's gonna fall on you if something happened to the business. But you do an LLC, it's gonna fall on that LLC. Get a federal employer identification number. So this is called an EIN number. It's kind of like a social security. It's kind of identify you, but this one will identify the business. Open a business account. Make sure you use the business legal name. Get a delegate business phone line. You also want to make sure it's listed under the legal name, business name. And then register with Dun & Bradstreet to get a DUN number. This is a 9-digit number used to identify each physical location of your business. It's free for all businesses. Business Credit Bureau can use EIN or DUN number to identify your business activity and payment when reported, and business credit scoring system can use data to generate score. Business credit score can take into account to public records such as legal filing, liens, and your business size and industry. But history of on-time and early payment can go a long way in helping to create strong financial track records. Apply for a business credit card. To build up your business credit profile, you will need account and vendor that report payment to the credit bureau. A business credit card can be a good start. Sometimes if your business is new, it's really hard to get a business credit card because you have to kind of generate some revenue with your business. But it can be done. Your personal credit just has to be really strong to support your business. Work with vendors that report payments. So if you have a business that work with a lot of vendors, make sure they report the payment that you make to them. If they don't, consider opening an account with new vendors. After verifying they will report your payment, because this will help you with your business credit. Paying on time to get you a good score, up to 80, but some business owner may not realize that is to get the highest paydex score, you need to pay your vendor early. Use your business credit to manage your cash flow. One potential benefit of building your business credit is to may become eligible for a lower rate and a better term with vendors. Both of these can help you manage your cash flows, the lifeblood of your businesses. You can also use business credit card to manage your cash flows. So having a business loan is really help, because then if your business go into a slow season, or where you need to buy equipment, or you need to buy inventories and different things, you can actually use the line of credit or use the loan to purchase those things without having to touch into your personal savings. For startup, it's really hard for bank to give you a loan, just because you don't really have anything established just yet, and then that's like a high risk to the bank. They're not going to be like, hey, here's $50,000. let's get your business started. It doesn't work like that. So for startup, you kind of have to have a lot of money, and you have to put out of your pocket a lot of time, build that business up, get your credit to a solid place, and then, you know, you can able to borrowing a loan. So, do you guys have any questions? I know I go over the 30 minutes time. So you can actually go directly to the website. So go to Experience, Equifax, and TransUnion, and you can create an account and actually freeze it from there. You just have to fill out your all information, and then they'll give you a PIN. You will need to save that PIN because that's what you need to use to unfreeze and freeze your credit. Go straight to the website. It doesn't cost anything. It's completely free. If they want to build their business credit, they just have to go and apply for a Dun and Brad. The number.
And
yeah.
when you go on that website, it gives you a lot of information and explains that number and what
Yep.
you can do with that. When you apply, when you are a new business, time helps as well. But if your credit is jacked up, don't worry about it. You got to get that personal credit together, like she said. But time helps as well when you're dealing with business credit. If you continue to apply for smaller vendors, like things like Costco, you might not really think that you need it, but like if you have a boutique or whatever, you might buy your supplies or whatever from Costco's. But Costco's is a place that will easily give you a card in your business name. And if you pay that card on time, it will start to build your business credit.
Mm-hmm.
Once you build your business credit, the sky is really the limit. You can literally buy your cars in your business name and never
Mm-hmm.
put it in your personal name ever
Yep.
again.
Yeah, and it's really good things because obviously you have a business. You don't want to run everything through your personal stuff because it's adding more debt into your personal life than because you know, if you have a business that you want to get a truck or something like that, you don't want to carry $70,000 loans on your personal. I wouldn't want to do that. So it's, you know, it just really, it's at the end of the day, they'll go together. They're both really important. So if you need help with your credits and things, I can give you my card and, you know, we can sit down together and go over plans. This is what I do for work. And, you know, if you have a goal that you're trying to reach this year, let's sit down together and figure that out and see what you wanted to do. And, you know, you need to take your business to the next level. We can help each other, you know, grow. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mimi. First Financial Bank, they have a lot of easy things that you can do. Secured credit cards, like she said, you can do as many secured credit cards as you want. As long as you're using those cards responsibly. The card is not meant to, you know, have money so you can pay all your utility bills every month or whatever. You want to use it maybe to buy gas or, you know, something really little that you continue to pay so that they know that you pay your bills. But it was really easy for me to go in there and get a secured card, just like she was talking about. You have to have different types of credit. That was something that was really easy, and I don't like credit cards anyway, so I wanted something that I felt like that I could control, you know, so I put a certain amount that I knew that I was comfortable with in there, and it was really easy. I literally called Mimi on the phone and told her, hey, I was coming, and when I got there, she had everything ready. So it's great to have relationships with financial situations so that when you're ready to do something and you don't know what it is, you can just call them up. We can call First Financial up anytime and ask them anything, and they get right on it and get us together. So let me know. Mimi's got some cards out front on the table, or you can call me. I also do credit counseling and business consulting. So you can call the church. We're here to help you level up for 2022. So we're going to move on. So this is the part that I'm really here for. And we have Shara Bowling. She's here from Global Tax. She's going to talk a lot about the business side of developing your business and creating, setting your business up the right way with your taxes. And we can probably ask you some questions for personal things as well. So welcome, Shara Bowling from Global Tax.
Testing. Okay. Good morning, everyone. How are you? It's good to see you out and interested in just growing and becoming better stewards of your money. So I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Shara Bowling. I am an enrolled agent and the CEO of Global Tax Service. For those of you who don't know what an enrolled agent is, that is the highest recognized tax practitioner by the Department of Treasury and the IRS. So a lot of times you'll hear people ask, well, are you a CPA? No, I'm not a CPA. We specifically specialize in taxation. So I just don't want to do a lot of the functions that CPAs do. I love taxes. When I say I love it, you'll probably see that come through in my presentation. So I was invited here today to discuss the topic of making sure that your business is set up properly. In our world, we call it business entity formation. And so a lot of people, I know they don't really understand the importance of why you need to do that, and it really stems down to taxes. So you're probably like, how does setting up my business have to do anything have to do with taxes? Well, that is the number one reason why your business needs to be set up, is because the government, of course, they want their piece. And so on your side, you want to keep your piece of your money. So you want to make sure that your business is set up properly, and that moving forward as you grow, you can I'll say elevate into different entity types, etc. So where I'm going to start at is most of you, I'm sure, are business owners out here, small business owners, or you are pursuing that. And so what happens is that first thing you do is you go online and you search, and they're going to say, hey, get an LLC. Well, LLC is not necessarily the only type of entity there is. So I'm going to go through the what's, the whys, the hows, and the reasons as to why you need to do certain things a certain way. So to begin with the business entities. There's typically 5, but there's really 6. So you have a sole proprietorship, you have a single member LLC, which is also called a disregarded entity. You have a partnership, so that's where 2 or more are gathered to do business. You're going to have a partnership. You then have an S corporation, you have a C corporation, and then technically, I'm going to say actually there's 7. So you have a nonprofit, and then you have what not too many people delve into is a personal services corporation, but there are a lot of benefits to it depending upon what it is you do for a living. So I'm going to focus on the main 5 that you typically hear about. And so first is the sole proprietorship. I advise anyone that is in business not to stick with being a sole proprietor. The number one reason is liability purposes. You are liable for anything that happens. If you are a housekeeper and you break a vase and you're a sole proprietor, they can come after you and your personal items and your personal life to recoup the loss of that vase. If you are a hairstylist and you burn someone's scalp using the wrong chemical, if you are set up as a sole proprietor, they can come after you directly. They can take your home. They can take your vehicles. They can take whatever it is that you personally own. You don't want to be held liable for those things. So when you set yourself up as an entity, that's where that LLC comes in. And the LLC, at that point, sets your business up as a business on its own. You no longer are personally, well, technically, you're no longer personally liable for any liabilities that may come up. And so on the taxation side, we call a single member LLC is called a disregarded entity. So I'll just explain that too. So if you hear me refer to a disregarded entity, it doesn't mean you're disregarded and nobody cares. Just in the tax world, that's what we call it. And you're actually taxed the same as a sole proprietor. You just have certain protections that you wouldn't have if you weren't set up that way. And so the next type of entity, if you have a business partner, depending on who your business partner is, if it's a spouse, then you guys actually have two different ways you can do this. You can actually set yourselves up as a qualified joint venture, or you can just set yourselves up as a partnership. There are some responsibilities as a partnership. One, and this is very important, I want you to write this down, if any of you are partnerships, are the tax implications. You have two different types of taxes that you have to file. You then at that point have a personal tax return, which is your 1040, and then you have a partnership tax return. The partnership tax return is called a 1065, and that is actually due before the standard tax filing date. So if you're in a partnership, your tax filing date is March 15th, if you're on a calendar year. So the reason why I stress this to people is because in my office, every single year without fail, I have clients that come in that are partners, they get letters from the IRS, and that letter says, you owe these fines. And they're like, well, I filed my taxes by April 15th. I don't know why I'm getting these fines. Because as a partnership, you have to file that tax return by March 15th. Then you can file your personal tax return after that first return is filed. So please, if you do nothing else, please remember that. Also with a partnership return, can you hear me better now? Okay, sorry. The partnership return, it does require you to provide different types of tax forms that you need to file on your individual return. So each member in that partnership will have certain requirements. That's where you'll report how much money you put into the business, et cetera. All those things will be found on those tax returns. And the next type of entity is a S corporation. So that's a big buzzword now. People tell you, oh, sign your business up for an S corp. I will say there's levels to that, and there's certain responsibilities when it comes to being an S corporation, and it's not something that you should just jump into, but really sit down and talk to a tax professional that can assist you with why you are doing that. So an S corporation is pretty cool. It still acts as a partnership would or as a disregarded entity would, because it's what's called a pass-through type of entity. So the company itself is not taxed. Any tax is going to filter through to the taxpayer, so you would claim that on your tax return. So that's really beneficial in a sense, because if your tax rate is lower, then you only have to pay taxes based off of your personal tax rate and not the corporate tax rate that a corporation would be responsible for. So the next entity is a C corporation. C corporations are corporations that, well, basically they have shareholders. So you can't just be one person with a C corporation. Now you can be one person with an S corp, which will be beneficial to you in many ways, and you can take advantage of some of the, the good parts of being a corporation, being an S corp. But as a C corporation, you have to have shareholders. That's one of the #1 requirements. So if it's just you, no matter how bad you want to be incorporated, you might have to switch it out a little bit. You're not going to be an actual corporation. So those, and so then we've got nonprofits. So of course, a lot of you know what nonprofits are. Nonprofits are entities. They're still businesses. They act and function as businesses, but they're not required to pay taxes. So typically your nonprofits have a mission in mind. For most parts, they do something to help the community, to better the community, to better the world. And so in that, the government gives them special provisions. Well, hey, you don't have to file taxes because you're doing this for the greater good of the people. So that's the simple form of explaining nonprofits. And then the personal services that I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are not familiar with that, but it is an actual entity. So if you are like a nurse or a physician or an accountant, someone that does something in the personal services realm, you actually can set your business up as a personal services corporation. There are a lot of benefits to that. They have just a simple flat tax rate, and so that is one other option you can have too. But why it's so important to set your business up properly, honestly, it's to save money. And at the end of the day, no matter what you do, no matter how much money you make, the IRS is coming. And they're gonna come and they're gonna review what you do, and they're gonna say, hey, how much of this pie can I get of what they did? So if you're not set up properly, you could be costing yourself money that you don't have to. So it's very important to make sure that you're not just going online and signing up for just anything, but you're actually doing the research and making sure that you're picking the best option for you. So let's see, so we've got our different types of business entities. We've got why you do them. So I'm gonna explain a little bit about how some of those work. So I mentioned again a pass-through entity, and so you ask yourself, well, what is a pass-through entity? Well, corporations or C corporations, they pay corporate taxes. They pay corporate taxes based off of the profits that they make. So when you are a single member LLC, when you are S corporation, or when you are a partnership, you're not actually paying taxes on the business. You're paying taxes based off of what is considered income for yourself. So that's really the difference, and that's where it helps you out at. And a lot of times when people are self-employed, their tax rate is a lot less than what the corporate rate would be, so that's a way to save money. So again, you have to just analyze where you're at, what you're doing, how much revenue is coming in, how much is going out, and then once you get to that bottom line, that's how you determine as a self-employed person how much your tax rate is. So if you work a job, one of the things that can help is that you can counter some of that tax from your business because you've paid into so much into Medicare and Social Security. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about saving. So let's see. I wanted to, the business entity setup goes in, you need to set it up with your state first. So you register or incorporate with the state. That requires you to, nowadays you can go online. You can go into an office too, but it's easy to go online, register with your state, in Indiana anyway. Each state has their own method of how they do it. Some are a little bit more difficult, but in the state of Indiana, you can go online. It's pretty simple. You choose your name, you pay a fee, and then you've got your entity created with the state. The next phase of that is to then go on and get your EIN. So it really doesn't become official until you have your EIN. So your EIN is your employment identification number that is, it is appointed to you by the IRS. This is like your Social Security number for your business. You will use this here on out on everything that you fill out. You are no longer you. Your business is now an entity and functions as, we'll say, a person. I don't want to really say a person, but it functions as a person. It's its own self now. It's not you. So whenever you go to the bank, whenever you go to apply for anything, whenever you are speaking with investors, you're now speaking in terms of your business and with it being set up. So the determining factor of when how your entity is set up, that actually is going to be on that what's called an SS4 form with the IRS. You will select if you're a sole or if you're an LLC, single member, partnership, etc. on that form. And from there, pretty simple. You go on, you register online, you can actually get the number right then and there. And then they will provide you with an SS4 certificate, and you want to make sure you save that for your records because you will need it a lot moving forward in business. People will request it often. They'll request it when you're needing to do jobs. They request it when you're trying to get funding. They'll request it at tax time when you're filing your taxes. From there on out, again, it serves as your Social Security card for your business. Next, after that, I feel the most important thing after this point, because you've spent money now, is to determine some sort of way to keep records of your transactions. One of the biggest mishaps in business, I think that small business owners just don't get schooled on, is keeping track of your finances and bookkeeping. So I'm not gonna say go out and get QuickBooks, even though I will say it, but most people, when they go out and do it, all they do is get QuickBooks, and then they don't look at it again for like 2 whole years, and then you spend $35 a month for 2 years and never open QuickBooks except for that first time when you signed up and said, oh my goodness, I'm gonna keep my books, I'm gonna sit down every Sunday night at 8 and I'm gonna record everything I do. Nobody does it. You wanna know how I know nobody does it? Because I do taxes. So I know nobody does it, but they all have it. QuickBooks came up with the best residual income source there is. Get people to sign up for this and never look at it again. It is pretty cool if you ask me. I wish I would have came up with it. But bookkeeping is one of the most important foundational tools of your business. Before you get your business cards, before you go get flyers, before you go and get your website, because by then you've already spent a few $100s. So you need to make sure that you write down that money that you spent. You need to make sure that you're recording that investment or that capital contribution that you've put into your business. You need to make sure that you know from here on out, I need to be a good steward of my money. And you cannot be a good steward of your money if you're not keeping track of it. You don't know how many times I ask business owners. I ask a lot of probing questions, and in my delivery and in my consults, I try to be as real as possible. I ask them, like, how much money did you make last year? And they'll be like, oh, but you want me to take you seriously as a business. So what I'm gonna do at that point is prep you for when somebody out there who doesn't really care about anything but the numbers is sitting in front of you what you need to do. So we need to get away from that, I'm not sure, to I made $112,412.62 last year. And this is how much my profit and loss is, and here's my balance sheet, and here's my cash flow, and this is what I can offer to you, and this is why you need to become my partner, and this is why you need to invest in me, and this is why you need to come and spend with this business, because we take care of this business and we know what we're doing. That's how you want to present yourself. So I'm a believer of Christ, and I've always been taught that you do things decent and in order. So we need to run our businesses in a decent and in order manner. God's not going to bless your business when it's not ran decent and in order. You will constantly run the hamster wheel. And I say that from experience, because I've been an entrepreneur since, it's been about almost 20 years now. I'm not going to say how old I am, but it's been about 20 years now. But the moment when I really understood the obedience factor in it, and that you have to do things a certain way, that's when God started to really bless my business. So I say that bookkeeping part, that record keeping part, that's a part of obedience, that's a part of being a good steward again, and that's just a part of caring about what God has given to you. So that is, I'll say, the third most important. The fourth most important thing, we have the banker here today. Get a business bank account and do not spend any money outside of that business bank account unless you absolutely have to. There are situations that arise where you may have to pull from yourself, but if you have to pull from yourself, you have set up what? bookkeeping, so you know that you can record that. I took this money from myself, so am I going to record this as a loan, or is this a contribution to the company? And now this makes me, or gives me more ownership. I put that on the books. So, but if you have a business bank account, there's really no need. You do all your transactions from there. It makes life so simple. If you need to pull anything, show anything, you pull out your bank statement, simple. So if I was going to say today, and I don't think I'll take the whole time, but the most important things, make sure that you're selecting the correct entity. Make sure that you understand why you're selecting the correct entity and how it affects you, how it affects if you're in a partnership with someone, or how it affects the savings of your business as far as taxes are concerned. Next, your EIN number, make sure that you have that set up. Bookkeeping, make sure that you do have some form of bookkeeping, be it in a notebook, be it software, be it hiring a bookkeeper. Make sure that you have that in place. And then fifth, I do want to say, file your taxes. Don't wait 3 or 4 years down the line because you're ready to buy a house. And you go to a lender and they say, hey, you want this house and it's $312,000. Where do you work? Oh, I have a business. I've been in business for 6 years. Okay, well, we need to see 3 years of tax returns. And you get this again. Well, see, what had happened was, that doesn't work. Would you give anybody $300,000 for a house if their response was, oh, I didn't do that. I'm not responsible is what they hear. I'm not going to take care of this house is what they hear. I'm not going to pay this mortgage is what they hear. So you need to do the things, again, in your business, just like you would do in your personal life, to make sure that your business is presenting its best self. So filing your tax return is very important and one of the biggest aspects. I say that too, just with the climate that we're in and with being small business owners. I'm still considered a small business owner. We're not capping 25 million, so I'm a small business owner. But in this climate, they're coming after us. And they know that you're not doing these things. And they know that you're just so excited because God has given you this gift to do this thing that you're able to do, that you weren't concerned with the back office. But that back office is where the government is concerned. And if they can get any extra money from you, that's what they do. So the goal for you, again, is to just make sure when they do come, if they come, when they come, that you present your best self. And presenting your best self, again, is being set up appropriately, filing your tax returns, keeping good books, because these are all of the things that they're going to ask for when that time comes. So,
Good.
Good information. Great. I have a couple questions.
Here, can you hear me? So when you have multiple businesses, and a lot of times, we are told to set some up as doing business as under one EIN number. Tax-wise, is that smart to do that?
tax-wise, it won't make a difference. A DBA is not going to be reported on your taxes. Everything will still come under that umbrella of that EIN. Now, book-wise, it will make a difference for you to know and understand, is this DBA generating this amount of revenue? This DBA is generating X amount of revenue, and it helps you to understand your business and how it functions. But from a tax standpoint, no, it's not going to make a difference.
It's just all that money's in that
It's all
pot,
that.
and that's what.
We would not file separate Schedule Cs and Schedule Form SE for DBA.
Okay, and then for nonprofit organizations, I know that just because it's called nonprofit, you can still make a profit. How complicated or how focused should we be when we have a nonprofit organization, but we move into things that could possibly make us a profit? Should we be filing different, or how does that work?
There are different tax implications depending upon what that nonprofit is set to do. So you have to have a certain classification. Whatever your nonprofit is, you're supposed to generate the money coming in for that. If it's anything outside of that, then it will be reported different. You should keep separate books.
Gotcha.
For instance, let's say this is a church, but you start a soccer league. You could say it was a part of the ministry, but did you present that to them when you applied to become a nonprofit? No, you never said that you're going to become a part of a soccer league. And so now that is a separate type of income, and that would have to actually be presented in a different way.
Okay.
So yes, I will say with nonprofits, that's one of the most scrutinized
Yeah.
entities that there is. And even in my practice, I'm a little leery because if you come in, I'm gonna make sure that you're doing right.
Yeah.
Just because of what's required, and there's so much that's required,
Yeah.
and there's so much that has to be reported, and every I has to be dotted, and every T has to be crossed. So with nonprofits, I tell people, don't look at it as a way to avoid paying taxes. That's not it. Because you're taking on a higher responsibility as a nonprofit. It's not just, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm not gonna have to pay any taxes, people are gonna donate money to me. There are so many facets to it that can make or break you. And a lot of people apply to become nonprofits and they lose it quickly because they did not do what they were supposed to do.
Are there any other questions?
Yes.
What type of software do you recommend for a small business?
Okay, if you
For
were going,
somebody who does not keep receipts.
okay. For me, I would say for cost effectiveness is key. So being an accountant, of course, my goal is bottom line, save as much money, make as much money, that is your goal. For new businesses, Wave is great. Wave it's free for the most part. Their payroll, you have to pay for that, but the actual function of bookkeeping is free. It's pretty self-explanatory. I definitely would say Wave without having to pay the fees of QuickBooks.
Now with Wave, don't you connect your business bank account with it or something? And it could figure your stuff out for it. It's real easy.
Yes.
And it's free. And I noticed too, what do you think about Square? I noticed that Square keeps a lot of records for you, and you can print those records out. Also with bill and credit, they allow you, if they see that you have a decent amount of income coming in, they will loan you money. I didn't know that. They will just loan you $3,500 or whatever you need. But what do you think about Square? Is that efficient?
Square is a merchant services app. I use Square myself. I use Square, I use PayPal. Those are the only two that we use. But by all means, anything that is going to create efficiency in your business, give you more time to do what you need to do, which is run your business and not have to focus on the menial aspects of it, I say do it. The good thing about Square, they do offer a lot of different, I know like you said, they have the loan product. Square is not a bookkeeping service though, it's strictly merchant services. So they're keeping track of going in and coming out. You do just have to be cognizant of fees. So any type of merchant services app that you use, PayPal, Square, Venmo, all those things will charge fees, but that's a cost of doing business. You know that you can get your money fast from a client using a debit card versus trying to find them, hunt them down, get cash, go to the bank, deposit cash. So it works out.
Yeah, and it keeps that record. See, I don't keep them like that.
Yes,
so
and
that's
they
why
give
I
you
like
your
it.
statements at the end of the year too. So if you make over a certain amount, you get your 1099-Ks and you can file that easily with your tax return.
I just wanted to make a suggestion. I'm a user of QuickBooks. It's very intuitive. You can also buy QuickBooks as a non-subscription with the desktop version. I would suggest, though, when setting up QuickBooks, that you do get with an accountant on that very first visit so that you'll understand how to allocate your expenses, your loans, and any of those types of things. And otherwise, it's very intuitive to use after that. But you should be keeping all of those records very tight. And with QuickBooks, you can even download receipts and pay electronically. So it's very helpful that way.
Yes, that is true. And you did bring up a good point. With bookkeeping, with actual bookkeeping and GAAP bookkeeping, which is general accepted accounting practices, the categories that you use, all of those things are very important. You can't just put in anything when you're recording your transactions in your business. However, I say in the beginning, just get in the habit of recording everything so that you get in the habit of recording. And as she stated, at that point you go to a professional. That's when we can go through, do a review of your books, do an analysis, determine what the appropriate accounts are for you, determine what those categories need to be, subcategories, etc. And in that way, when you are reviewing your different reports, like your profit and loss statements, cash flows, balance sheets, etc., you have a full understanding of how your money is working for you, how it's working against you, and how to understand how your business actually functions. Because those reports actually tell you what your business is doing. You really have no clue what your business is doing until you look at those reports. And looking at your financial reports can tell you when do I need to hire someone? Can I hire someone? We need to fire someone. We are able to purchase a new building now. Can we get that printer that we really need, but we haven't gotten it yet because we thought we didn't have it? All of those things can be determined just by looking at your reports. So yes, that was a very good point.
So my question is in reference to the EIN number. In the EIN number, can you have, I know you said you could have the DBAs, but do they have to be related? Can they be one hairdresser, one food service, one, or does it have to be basically the same industry?
Okay. So when filing taxes, the answer to that is no. Do people do it? Yes. The reason being, every industry is categorized by what's called an NAICS code. I cannot categorize being a cosmetologist and have the same tax implications and it goes a little deeper, and I can explain why that is too, but as a caterer. There's two different things. Reason being is because any expenditures that you have in your business, when it comes to taxes, they have to be reasonable and ordinary and necessary. So at this point, if I say that what do you do, ma'am? I am a nurse, so I do private duty nursing, but then I'm a caterer. How can I justify the expenses of purchasing food items if my business is registered as me being a private duty nurse? They don't go hand in hand. And so when an audit arises, and again, anytime you do business at this point, your goal should be to be ready for an audit. That's just it. Any customer that comes in my office, I prepare them for if the IRS comes. So if the IRS comes, they won't be there long. They're like, oh, they're on point, let's go. Next. But you have to make sure that whatever you're doing aligns with that business, because deductible expenses, things of that nature, can only align with that particular type of industry.
Thank you so much. I really want to give a special thanks to you. Every year that we have this, the tax preparer always backs out at the last minute. It is, I can set my watch by it. The tax preparer always backs out, and I always have to get on the phone and see who I can find to come. I literally found her on Black Dollar her. She called me. She's very professional, very efficient. I would love to have her come back for the new ministry
Thank
that
you, I
we're
appreciate
starting,
that.
so that we can talk a little bit more. She's got cards out on the front table, so please grab one of her cards so that you can talk with her more. If you don't get the information, call the church and I will make sure that you get it.
Thank you again,
Thank
everyone,
you
and thank you for the
much.
opportunity.
Thanks so much. So, in a second, we're going to bring up Mr. DJ, who is almost a millionaire for doing stocks, but I want to talk just for about 5 minutes about home ownership. And we didn't make home ownership the complete focus of this because we do that every year. And we know that there are a lot of other things that you need to do in order to be a homeowner. But right now, I want to open it up for questions. I didn't bring my phone up here, so I don't know what they're asking online. But if there are any questions about home ownership, I want to answer those questions. I am a real estate broker with Dominion Real Estate. I have been an owner broker for about 16 years. My company's been open about 6 years. And I absolutely love it. If, you know, God dropped food down from heaven, I would sell real estate for free. I love it that much. So I just want to talk, the real estate market has changed a lot since COVID got started. Prices are so different. I don't want to say hi, somebody's doing like this. They're so different. Before COVID, you could purchase a ranch for as low as $89,000, and now you probably will not get a ranch for any less than about $165,000. The average house that I sell now is probably about $325,000. The average first-time buyer home is probably around $200,000. So with that being said, things are changing. Things are really, really different. There are still home buying assistant programs out there. You have to look high and low for them. They're there. A lot of lenders don't deal with them anymore because they really don't necessarily have to, but they are there. I love selling real estate, but buyers are my absolute favorite. I love first-time buyers. I love being able to put somebody in a home when they didn't think that they would be able to do it or whatever. I just love that. So I look for those products. I work with a lot of different lenders because there are lenders that do one thing and then these lenders might do something else. So we have a variety of things that we can do. But I wanted to talk about, gone are the days when you could go to closing with no money at all and get a check at the end. Literally, when I first started selling real estate, I could have my buyers, down payment would be paid, closing costs would be paid, and they literally would get a check back at the end. No, now I'm not gonna say it won't happen, but it's not likely in these days. And so we need to get to a place where we are prepared for what we want so that it doesn't necessarily matter if someone's not gonna give us money for a down payment, if they're not gonna give us money for closing costs, because I'm gonna tell you, sellers are not paying closing costs anymore. I used to almost always, for the first maybe 15 years of selling real estate, I always asked the seller to pay closing costs, and I always got the seller to pay closing costs. And now, if I put a home on the market at 9 a.m. in the morning, by 6 p.m. in the evening, I probably have about 11 offers. And I mean, those offers are anywhere from people are paying closing costs. They're even putting in the offers that we'll take the house as is, meaning if you get an inspection and there's a hole in the roof, the seller doesn't have to take care of it. So it's so different. So you want to make sure that you find a trustworthy realtor that is going to work for you, that's going to question things, that's going to go over that inspection. Gone are the days of not getting an inspection. You need to get an inspection. I don't care if you're buying new build or pre-existing. New build, construction, they miss things. They forget things. I had a buyer, bought a brand new house. The whole left side of the house, the wiring wasn't right. How they got past that, I don't know, because they have their own inspections. through the builder. But if you have your own inspections, you don't have to worry about that. So those are things that you want to make sure that you're doing. We've got some new products that are going to come on the market, new lenders that we're working with. They're going to pay up to $10,000 of down payment assistance and or closing costs, and they will finance you at a 600 credit score. So if you're not at a 600 credit score, we've got Mimi to help you, I can help you, and it's a good time to buy. But I just wanted to make sure that we just kind of touched a little bit on the home buying process. Understand that if you are not doing new construction, there's a possibility that you will write offers on 15 houses before you get a yes, because there are so many people bidding on one house. The inventory is really, really low. People are bidding $40,000 and $60,000 over list price. My company does not recommend that. It is not that deep. You will be upside down in that house for a long time. In my experience, I would sell my buyers a house, and maybe in 4 years or so, they might want to put it up for sale and buy another house. They could buy another house, have equity in it or whatever, and get a check back to go towards their new home. Now, if you're bidding $40,000 and $60,000 over list price when you're going in, well, hopefully it's your forever home, because you will forever be there. Or you're going to pay the buyers to buy your house is what's going to happen. So, like I said, the market has really, really changed. I just want everybody to be aware of that. Are there any questions about home ownership? I can't bring the mic to you. That part really depends on how much house you buy, but those numbers are pretty accurate. The average closing cost is can be as low as about $5,000. I tell people at least have $5,000 for your closing, at least. That doesn't mean it's going to be as low as that. And then down payment would depend on your loan. So FHA is 3.5% of whatever the purchase price is. There are some conventional loans, sometimes they're 10%. They do have a product where it's 3%, I believe. So I always kind of steer people in that direction. If you can get a conventional loan with 3% down, why not do it? It just depends on how you want to structure your payment. Your payment, depending on what the price of your house is, every $1,000 is about $7. So, you think of that where payment is concerned. Along with those costs, you want to add in your inspection, which is usually about $325, $350, and then you want to add in your appraisal. The appraisals are anywhere from $500 to $575. So it's a lot now. You really need to save and figure out what you're doing before you go to the table. Some of the new builders, if you use their preferred lenders, they'll pay up to, I think, $7,500. If not, I think you might get $2,500, something like that. But remember, before COVID, you can go to the new builders and put $500 down and get your lot, and start moving, or $1,000. But now it's not like that. So I just want everybody to know that, the market has changed a lot. You really want to prepare for purchasing your home. You don't want to wake up tomorrow and say, hey, I'm going to go buy a house, whether your credit is right or not. You want to make sure that you're working with the right professionals and that you have your money and your ducks in a row. All right? Of course, if there are, they do not advertise them. I might be able to look some things up and see what I can find, but those are not things that they just normally say, hey, we've got something for widows. They usually just say first-time buyer. You are considered a first-time buyer if you haven't bought a home within 3 years. After 3 years, you go back to being a first-time buyer and you qualify for that. This program that they have coming out, I was kind of leery about it. I don't want to call the name of the institution that's going to do it yet. I'm going to talk with that lender next week, but once I kind of checked into it, they really do have some really good products that we can take advantage of. And I mean, when your credits, it's not hard to get to a 600 credit score. That doesn't mean that just because you're a 600, they'll approve you. I mean, if you got everything or you got repos and all that, of course we have to take care of that. But if you don't have those things on your credit, if you get to that 600 credit score, we can get you in a house because they are going to put money up front in order for you to get in that property as well. So once again, any information that we have, if you didn't get the name of Shara Bowling, who is Global Tax, Mimi, who is with First Financial, call the church, and we will get you connected to who you need to be connected to. So, with that being said, I am so happy to introduce Mr. DJ Mohead. DJ, you are 16? DJ is 16 years old, and he is an absolute whiz at the stock market. His phone is actually an asset, and he makes money while he's here working in the AV department. So I'm going to turn it over to DJ.
Hello, everybody. So my name is DJ, and I started in one second. Let me see. I gotta turn that down. All right, that should be better. My name is DJ, and I started investing in the stock market at 14 years old. And I think about now, I've probably made over 50,000. Started with an initial investment of 2,000. And I did this all by myself. I taught myself how to do it, and I just kept going with it, and now I'm getting into cryptocurrency. And if any of you guys have any questions, I can help you right now or after. Just let me know.
I have a question.
Yep.
What are the best apps to download to get started?
I would probably recommend Stockpile, Robinhood, and Webull. That's 3 of them.
Okay. And you said that you started with $2,000.
Well, at first, I started with 500 and then just kept building it up.
Okay. Are there any questions for DJ?
DJ, how much time would you say every day that you spend watching the stock market and working it?
How much time? I would say probably about an hour every day. Just keep learning about it, watching videos. It's a lot of good people on the internet you can learn information from, like YouTube is probably really good.
Are there any specific names that you have that we can go to on YouTube that we should keep an eye out for?
I don't have any on YouTube, because some people, like, they change their names and all that, but I have one on Instagram you guys can look up. His name is Aristotle on Instagram.
And how do you decide which stocks to invest in?
That's a hard question, but for someone more advanced, they look at the charts. So basically they can tell you by just the candlelight if a stock can go up or down. But what I do is I'm in a group and I join trades and they just give me calls to do. So they tell me what plays to make and all of that.
So is trades, is that something that's on social media or?
Oh no, a trade is like when you sell and buy a stock.
So I have a few questions, because you're the reason I came today. So just tell me when to stop. But I'm really interested in DRIPs or direct reinvestments. And I wondered if you had a suggestion on like the best brokerage firm that could help me to build my portfolio, because I'm more interested in buying slices than I am whole shares of stock at one time.
So you want like fractional shares? Well, now you can do that through anything. So you can do that through Robinhood if you want to.
So you don't even have to you don't have to do all that. You can do it right there.
Coming from a different generation, I am a little bit technologically savvy, but I'm still very much interested in dealing with an actual person and being able to ask questions. So for example, I do have some investments through my Chase app, but I also want to be able to talk to people. Like there's a new thing that's like SCG stocks where you're able to invest in meaningful things. So like for example, if you're against smoking cigarettes, you wouldn't invest in the S&P. You would not invest in like something that had Philip Morris in it. You'd maybe want to invest in something that helped children more. So I need to be able to ask questions, and I understand that with Robinhood, for example, sometimes the customer service isn't as easily accessible.
Okay, so you're looking for something like more simpler to use?
Just wondering if you have any suggestions on which of those brokerage firms are better for...
I know Fidelity is good. Fidelity Investments, I use that one.
Okay.
And then Webull is probably another one. And Stockpile as well, because I contact them about every day. I get about an email, I would say in about 2 to 6 hours from them. So they're pretty good at contacting you back.
And then Fidelity, for what you're looking for, because you want to be able to actually just have a conversation. They are phenomenal.
What is like minimum investments? I heard you say $500. Like what should I be looking for as somebody who doesn't have a whole lot of money to invest and I want to be diversified? What is a good place? What is a good number to try to start at?
Like a good price to start investing at? I would say it just depends on how much you're willing to make and how much you're willing to lose. Yeah, that's the problem. You have to be willing to lose money to make money.
Like Pastor was saying about taking a risk. $500 is a pretty comfortable place for most people to start. You might think, oh, $500, I don't want to lose. But, I mean, if you think about what we do on a daily basis, if you're a Starbucks person or whatever, we spend $500 on coffee. Not you per se, but, I mean, we do. We spend $500 on coffee or McDonald's or whatever. And so $500 is a comfortable place, I think, to start. And once you see it moving and grooving, and that's why I say get used to the apps, because the apps allow you to be able to see it on a daily basis. When you're dealing with a company, it's not as easy to see what's going on, but when you use the apps, you're able to see what's going on a daily basis, and it gets you more excited. And then it kind of seems like it makes you more willing to take risks.
Any more questions?
I invested in Robinhood and on the phone, so I'm doing all this on the phone with my daughter that's in Dallas, and she's just raving over it. And then my phone died, so I felt like I lost everything. I had three little stocks, and don't know how to get them back.
You can't get back into the account?
I forgot my password and everything by that time.
Oh, okay. Since you forgot your password, there should be an option that says forgot password.
Okay.
And they should either send you an email or a text message that'll be able for you to get back into your account.
Okay, I'll try it.
And that's the one good thing about the apps. If you lose your phone or if you do whatever, there is a way for you to get back into your account. Even if you email the company and say, hey, I can't get in my account, they can help you.
I'm gonna ask your opinion. Because you do crypto, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Dogecoin,
Dogecoin.
Get rid of it or sit on it? What's your take? And I got one more. Doge and Shiba Inu.
You said Dogecoin or Shiba Inu?
Yeah. What would you say? Keep them or get rid of them?
So with my Dogecoin, I sold mine at 70 cents. So I got rid of that because I got it so cheap. And Shiba Inu, I never got any of that because it was a little too risky for me.
I did, and I keep it. I keep it. They just, I can't remember what happened. I was doing something here at the church and I wasn't able to check my text messages. But all of my friends who have that, it was like the phone was like blowing up, like put some money in it, put some money in it. So I say keep that one.
Yeah, that's how I was with Dogecoin at first.
Just, this might help you. There is an app, I think it's called Coinbite.
Coinbase?
Coinbite, yeah. But it's where you can do, they'll do little videos. And the videos help you to learn about cryptocurrency. And then you can get points and monies for that. So that's a good way to start. That's how I started with it. My other question with you is, are you a day trader or you're an investor? Because there's a difference between the two, and
I would say I'm a long-term investor.
Okay.
Just wondering if you could share, more information about cryptocurrency and why we should even look at it anyways.
I could barely hear you. Could you repeat that one more time?
She said, can you tell us a little bit about cryptocurrency and why we should be using it?
So I would say you should be using cryptocurrency because, well, that's the thing. So it can go up and down. So you just have to have that trust with it. So right now, Bitcoin is at 35,000, but a month ago, it was almost about 60,000. So you just gotta have that connection with it, and you can't be scared. You just gotta believe in it, because one day it's gonna go back up. And yeah, you just gotta keep your trust in it.
And so, DJ, would you suggest that it's like a savings? I keep looking at my hair in the screen, and y'all keep sticking up, and y'all not telling me. Would you suggest that when you put that money, it's something that you just kind of just write that money off? Once you put it in there, just be okay with writing it off.
Yeah, see, I look at mine every day, so I know what's happening with it. And I mean, I've been there to where it's been all the way down, but then it multiplied up by like 30 times. So I've seen it, and so it's easy for me to believe and trust in it, but I can see why it's harder for other people to believe in it.
Any more questions?
Once you invest in any kind of stock, is there a time frame? Like, say you reach your goal and you want to get out of it and enjoy the reward of it. Is there a time frame to stay in it?
So I would recommend at least holding a stock for a year, because you would have to pay 10% taxes on it. So if you hold it for longer or shorter than a year, you would have to pay over 40% tax. So I would recommend long term, because you would have to pay less on it. Is that it for the questions?
All right, thank you so much, DJ.
You're welcome.
He said $50,000 at 16. What did you do with your money, DJ? Did you take any of it out and use it in
No, it's still in there.
Okay, all right. So the last person that we have here is Andrea Simonton. She is very knowledgeable with insurance. Of course, we have plenty of insurance policies on everything. I did not know how much money that you can generate with insurance if you know what to do with it and how to work it. So I thought it would be amazing for her to come and explain a couple things to us so that we can continue after we do our stocks and buy our houses, get our business together, we can work our insurance. So Andrea Simonton.
Well, good afternoon, and I'm not going to be very long. I just want to answer and just give you some information about insurance. But first and foremost, it's amazing to me, people don't know what insurance is. And so insurance is a means to manage a risk. And most of our people think that they don't need insurance. until something happens. And it's kind of like the flat tire scenario. You know, you don't think you need a spare until what? You have a flat tire, right? So, insurance, it's along that concept. And believe it or not, in statistics, I just pulled this up, 2020 statistics showed that 54% of American families are not insured. Now, can you believe that? So now, what does that mean and how does that translate into our economy? What that is saying that is if the head of household passes away, there's no money to pay for a funeral. Now, I got to take it back to Bible because the Word of God says in Proverbs 13:22, it says, when a good man dies, he leaves an inheritance for his grandchildren. So with that, a good man. Now, insurance, it's really not that costly. There are all kinds of products that you can protect your family with. And I want to share with you that the average cost of a funeral is $15,000. So $15,000 is what it would cost today. Now, what happens 20 years from now? And you have not planned to protect yourselves and to leave something for your children. You know, my personal story is my mother, it was 20 years, maybe about 10, 15 years before she passed away. I went to her and I said, Mama, do you have insurance? And she looked at me and she's like, well, honey, I think I do. And I'm thinking like, you think you do? And then to know my mother, she's like, honey, I'm not trying to make you all rich. And I said, Mama, that's not it. It is to make sure that if something happens, because y'all, I don't want to see another GoFundMe. And what that says when you see GoFundMe is that somebody did not prepare. Death is inevitable. It happens to all of us. So why not prepare and have a legacy set up for your family? And, you know, I pulled this figure. If you're 40 years old and you got a policy for $250,000, believe it or not, that would only cost you about $21 and some odd cents if you're in good health. Now think about that. $250,000 that you can leave for the loved ones that will cover final expenses. Because you know what? When you pass away, the mortgage still has to be paid, the light still has to be paid, the water bill still has to be paid. All those expenses don't stop because you stopped. So why not prepare yourselves? And you know, it's not difficult at all for the cost of a pizza. And we're talking about a month, and most people eat pizza, well, my family does, at least once a week. You can protect your family and make sure that there's coverage. I talked to a gentleman last night, and I mean, I was laughing so hard. The brother man just had me in tears laughing. I said, you need it. I said, do you have insurance? And he said, no. And I said, well, you need to get some insurance. He said, well, I'm going to sell my house. And so with my house, I said, oh, okay, so that's planning. I said, okay, well, if you sell your house and the revenue from your house, and I'm trying to help him, he said, look, my children are grown, and they should be taking care of themselves, and I'm not worried about, they just do a little something, I don't care. In fact, they can cremate me. Well, I was like, wow, that mindset. That mindset. Now, I just said a good man does what? He leaves an inheritance. So why not? And then I said to him, I said, you don't want your children, and I said, well, okay, your children are grown. Let's go to your grandchildren. You don't want your grandchildren to start over, do you? Why not leave something for them that when they become into adulthood, that they don't have to start from scratch, that you've given them something that they can build upon, because that's what God wants us to do. You don't want to see your baby struggling. I know I don't want to see my children struggle. I want them to be able to enjoy the good things of life and learn about money. Be money smart. Have insurance savvy. And you know, and like I said, it doesn't cost you much. Now, the other category of people in insurance or about insurance is this. If in fact you have insurance, 95% of the individuals that have insurance are not adequately covered. Either they have the wrong kind of policy, Because back in the day, you can get a term policy, and if your term policy, believe it or not, there is a percentage that shows that only 1% of people actually die within the term of a term policy. Now we have products, we do have term policies, but what I love about the products that we have now is that you have a return of premium. So what you're doing, you're covering yourself, and then if nothing happens and you don't pass away within that term of a 20-year, 30-year term, then at the end of that term, you get what you've paid into, you get the money back. Now that's pretty smart. At least I'm like, okay, that's smart. But there's also products that will allow you to become your own banker. There's products that you can actually purchase, especially younger individuals that can purchase, that when it's time for retirement, they have money that's paying them retirement or pension plans that you're not taxed on, that you can have. There's so many different products. And the last one that I think every family member, I think I have 2 that I'm still working on, but we have what's called a cancer policy, and it's a living benefit product, and it is high blood pressure. And when I talk to, now I know you all know somebody that take blood pressure pills, somebody that's, if they have high blood pressure and then cancer, the statistics say, and I don't agree with the statistic, I have to tell my sister that I don't agree with this statistic, but they say 1 out of every 2 people will have some form of cancer. Well, why not have a policy that pays you anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 if you're diagnosed with cancer? Policy is very, very cheap. I have one, very cheap. And those are the kinds of things that just being, just proactive so that your family is not caught in a limbo saying, woe is me, and crying about all the financial burdens when you have prepared. And that's what insurance does. It prepares you for the inevitable. Like I said, I wasn't going to take a lot of your time because I know time is good and time is of the essence. So thank you so much. Are there any questions? It is Symmetry Financial, and I have business cards in the back that if you would like one.
Thank you so much, Andrea.
Thank you.
Shame on you guys who are paying on furniture and rims and you don't have insurance. I just wanted to put that in there as a disclaimer, because people will tell you, I can't afford to do it. But you got your house is laid out, and ain't nothing wrong with your house being cute. But if you paying on your couch and you don't have insurance, if something happened to you, I just want to say, shame on you. This concludes our 3rd annual financial seminar. We have it every year, the 3rd Saturday in January. Meet us back here next year, Lord willing, 2023. We will be here bringing you more information to level up your life. Thank you guys for coming out. Thank you guys online. Have a good rest of your day.